I'm so glad that you guys are here with me. Thank you for joining me. We have got another cool necklace demo for you guys today that I'm really excited to show you. Y'all are gonna love it. What we're going to be using today. We're going to be using those pearls, and we're going to be using the turquoise seed beads that come in that the little shorty set. So I'm going to be using the turquoise color out of there. They're kind of matte, but I thought it was a great looking into spring and summer idea for us. And then we're going to be using some of the paperclip chain, and we're going to use 24 gauge wire here. As far as our tools, we're going to use a flush cutter, a chain nose plier, a round nose plier, and my favorite thing ever, my wire straightener or my nylon jaw plier. First thing we are going to do is we're going to cut a piece of 24 gauge wire. So I'm going to use like about 6 inches of wire here, 6 to 8 inches of wire. As usual, I cut more than I need, but that's okay. So we're gonna cut ourselves some wire here. And then we're gonna make our little curly Q down at the bottom that I do sometimes in place of a bead stopper. I just need a little nub on the end of that's gonna keep my seed beads from falling off. And then we're gonna string several inches of seed beads. So I've already got a lot of this strung, but I'm gonna just do a couple more here while I've got y'all. One thing I like to do when I'm stringing seed beads, if I'm doing them by hand and not using the bead spinner, is kind of curl up the end into like a little bit of a hook shape, like that. And then it makes it easier to just kind of go in and grab some seed beads, and then you can just flip them up like that, and then they drop down on that little hook, and they don't fall off as easily if you as they do if you just have like a straight piece of wire. So this is one of the ways that I string lots of seed beads really fast if I'm not going to use my bead spinner. All right, so now we are ready to drop our pearl on here. And the pearl's gonna slide right over all these seed beads, which I love. I've done a couple demos similar to this. I've made a couple different types of earring styles. This would be a great, this would work really well as earrings too. So if you wanna make a set, this is a great set. You guys, I'm gonna curl the other end of my wire too, so that my seed beads don't slide off that end. Just make myself another little curly Q. And that's something we'll cut off, but leave myself a little bit of room on my wire down at the end. So I've got like an inch and a half of wire. And then I'm gonna push these seed beads kind of tight down onto each other and pull this into a loop, making sure that I've got an even amount of seed beads on either side. It looks like I got a little more on one side than I do on the other. But the great thing about this is the seed bead's gonna move, this pearl is gonna move on the seed beads, so we can relocate that if we need to. So I'm just gonna pull those seed beads up together at the top here. And like I said, making sure we don't have a bunch of gaps in our seed beads and they're pulled nice and tight. And then we're just gonna give this a twist just to kind of stabilize that. And now we're gonna take this little short piece of wire, that extra piece, and I'm just gonna wrap this a couple times. And it tries to move on you, or your wire tries to rotate. So you got to kind of figure out the best way to hold it that's going to keep your wire from just twisting around. And then I think I know I strung too many seed beads, but that's okay. I'd rather have too many and I can put them back in the container than have to stop what I'm doing and string more seed beads. So we've got a couple wraps up there with the short end of our wire, and I'm just going to clip that off there. And now I'm going to drop the remainder of my seed beads down, and then I am going to grab a piece of my paper clip chain. So one thing I love to do with this paper clip chain is to use the individual links. With larger chains that have like big open links, this is one of my favorite ways to really utilize my chain, and you get a lot of bang for your buck when you use the individual links. Now these are all closed links, so you will have to cut some links. So I'll use part of the chain for a full necklace, and I'll use another part of the chain and cut it up into links. Sometimes you can hide that little cut. I don't have the paperclip chain on this version right here, but we're gonna add it to this version. So you can do it with or without the paperclip chain. I just thought it was like a little extra something. But yeah, most of the time, if I've got a big chunky chain, I'll use part of it and use the full chain as a necklace, and I'll take the other part and cut it up, or if I can open up the links, I'll open them all up. A great way to really utilize and maximize your chain. And also chains can be such cool findings in place of like a jump ring or something like that. If you've got a cool decorative or textured chain, it's a great way to add some more visual interest to your piece without having to like texturize it yourself, or wire wrap something onto it. So that's something I do a lot, is I use my chain as findings. So we're gonna slide that paperclip chain down on there like this. And I am going to just bring these section of seed beads, and see, I didn't use all those seed beads. I had way too much, but that's okay. I'm gonna make this just a little bit smaller here. This is a scenario where I'm gonna really look at proportion. So I've got kind of like, and I'm gonna reshape that a little bit, but I've got a bigger section of seed beads there, and then I've got this big long paperclip chain here. So I wanna do something like quite different in size between those two. So I'm gonna shrink this down a little bit. I don't want, because it's like one of the things that I think I have struggled with in the past is not paying enough attention to proportion, and then I'll get like I'll have a couple things on a necklace or earrings that are really similar in size, but they're not exactly the same size. So it looks like it's hard to tell whether it was an accident or just a design choice. And I think one of the ways that you can kind of elevate the look of your piece is to make intentional size and proportion choices. I like to mix my sizes up. If I'm not gonna make like 3 loops that are the exact same size, I'm going to make them 3 distinctly different sizes, if that makes sense. But that's just something that I look at when I'm designing something, is whether my proportions look like they're on purpose or if they look like an accident. Okay, so here we go. So now I've got my little loop made here up there at the top, and the shape is all wonky right now, so don't worry about that. And then I'm gonna take this wire and I'm just gonna wrap kind of loosely, not too loosely, but we're gonna wacky wrap this a little bit. And I'm gonna cut these seed beads off because it's too many and now it's in my way. Okay, So I've got some straightening up to do, but that's kind of, and you can make that section as bulky as you want, but that was another thing, another area to look at for proportion and kind of balance. Making sure that we're not overpowering the rest of the necklace with that little wrap section, but it's enough to look like it was on purpose. I don't want to take away from the seed beads, I don't want to take away from the paperclip chain, but I don't want it to look like I just like didn't wrap my my earring part well. I want it to look like it was on purpose. So that's kind of a fine line that you learn to walk as a designer, is making sure that things don't look like messy accidents and they look like they're on purpose. And that's just something that have learned over time. It's not, I don't know that it's something you can really like articulate in like a rule, like this is how many you should do, this is how much you should do in this scenario. It's just something that your eye starts to pay attention to, proportion and balance and things like that. And I will try to like continue to point things like that out in the future so that we can start to really kind of hone that in. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go in with my chain nose pliers or my round nose pliers, and I'm just gonna make sure that I like my shapes here, and like I'll press my round nose plier in there and get that rounded out. And then I will use my, not too hard with your pliers because you don't want to break any seed beads. I just broke one. But ooh, make sure that things are facing the way you want them to face, and that they're shaped the way you want them to face. Okay, so now I'm just gonna, I had a little piece of smaller chain, and I'm gonna drop that in to my paper clip chain like this. Actually, I think I'm gonna do a little knot there. So I'm gonna take this out so that it faces the right way. So I'm gonna fold this chain in half, drop this down, and then I will pull both of those pieces of chain through there. Like that. Let me put it on this neck so that you guys can see it. I would prefer not to have that little knot there. And so I could do a jump ring, or I could just kind of let it sit sideways. Yeah, I don't like that. So I'm gonna take that off. I'm gonna undo this. And then we're just gonna let it do its thing. I'm just gonna string this on here. See, I think that knot was too distracting. I think it took away from the overall piece. But as you wear this, and if it hangs down a little bit lower, this is going to stop turning and face the right way. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to turn my loop, my top loop of seed beads. I want that to be parallel with my bottom loop of seed beads like this. So I've got that, like that. Isn't that cute? I don't know which one I like better. I like both of them. I think they're both really cool. And you can obviously, you can expand this, or you can blow it up, or you can shrink it down, whatever style you like. But you know, the more seed beads you use, you know, the bigger you can make each of those seed bead sections, or you can shrink it down really tight and make this small little pendant section. But I thought it was a really good way to utilize seed beads. If you've got lots of extra seed beads, or lots of little teeny tiny beads, these large hole pearls really slide over them really nicely, and it's a great way to utilize both of those. I love seed beads. They're one of my favorite things to work with. You guys know how much I like teeny little things, and these are just perfect. Thank you guys for joining me here today. Again, shop the show, close out your cards and share the show on your social media if you can. Bye-bye.